Hi, it's TT here for My Sacred Blood. Welcome or welcome back to the only channel on YouTube that focuses exclusively on truly holistic menstrual care. If you haven't already, go check out the website. Parts 1 to 8 of My Sacred Blood Strategy for Cyclical Living is now available for download, and new digital coaching sessions are always posted on the first Monday of every month. If you're already there, consider joining the mailing list by filling out that little form below. And of course, share this video with at least one person who you feel will benefit from this content. This one is all about the pros and cons of period panties. So I'm not going to be reviewing this particular brand. I'm just going to go over some of the things that I personally love about these period panties and some things that I found to be a little bit impractical or a little bit more high maintenance for what it's worth. So let's start with what are period panties. You probably have your own brand of period panties. We used to call them granny panties back in the day, and those are the panties that you wear strictly on your period. It's like what's torn up, the oldest, the biggest, the best fitting underwear that you have that's going to keep your pads in place and you don't mind if you get blood all over them if you should have an accident. And so we already been wearing period panties for the longest time, but now they're on the market and they're becoming more and more mainstream. Not necessarily mainstream, but more and more people are starting to learn about them and are starting to use them. And so period panties first made it out on the market somewhere around 2013, 2014. I believe there was a company called Thinx who first came out with their brand of period underwear. Period panties are generally made of the same type of materials that cloth baby diapers are made from, and that's the Zorb material. Zorb is a trademark type brand fabric. It's a synthetic fabric that's very absorbent. Or polyethylene laminate fabric, or PUL, and that's also a type of synthetic fabric that is said to be very absorbent. You can also find it in fleece, which I find not to be very absorbent, and cotton, and so on. And according to grove.co, these period panties are said to be able to hold up to between 1 and 2 tampons worth of blood before they need to be changed. So these things work in a couple different ways. You can get period panties like the ones I have, where the absorbent material is sewn in to the underwear and it can't be removed. And then there are others that work kind of just like your regular cloth pad, where you can remove the insertable and change it whenever necessary. There is some setback to that, and we'll get back to that after we do the absorbency test. So first I'm going to do an absorbency test, kind of compare it to cloth pads, and then I'm going to go over some of the downsides and the upsides to period panties. So here I'm just taking my time trying to drop the water just a little bit at a time to not soak the underwear too fast. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. Next time I would try using a dropper, because that is a little bit more realistic, that the blood does drop, it doesn't pour. And so I'm sure it'll leak through just a little bit more than it should really. So here you see it did leak through pretty quickly. It did leak through to the paper towel. So depending on how your cervix sits or how you sleep at night, it may leak to the side or to the back, or however. Okay, now I'm going to do the same for the reusable pads just to do a comparison. And here, the reason why I chose to use this cup is because I wanted to measure equally how much water I was putting on each, and this was the best way I thought to do it. I'm not sure if it was in hindsight, but anyway, I'm going to take my time and do the same thing here, just dropping it a little bit at a time. So I'm going to give it a little press here, just like I did with the panties, because the material on the outside I feel should be just as durable or somewhat reliable as the material on the inside. It doesn't have to be just as absorbent, but it should catch any leakage should there be any. And here you can see that even though I did press down, there was no leakage when it came to the hemp reusable cloth pad. Now again, of course, that's not exactly realistic since blood drips, it doesn't pour, and so it would take some time and it would have a little bit more spread than if you're doing it with water, so it's not going to actually leak through as fast, so that's not as accurate. And so I'm going to give this period panty some benefit of the doubt. It didn't leak like that when I wore it, definitely did not do that. And so I am going to say that they are absorbent. I didn't have too much trouble with it, but I did just wear it as a backup in case I got some leakage with my pads or with my cup. And so I never really wore it on its own until maybe the 4th day. So that is one of the things I definitely like about it, that it is a secure fit and it does offer some leak-free protection, kind of as a backup if you're wearing already a cup or tampon or pad or reusable or whatever. You feel kind of comfortable knowing that you have some kind of backup protection if anything, you know, if you should have some kind of leakage or have some kind of accident. So I'll call that a pro, that it is secure, it offers comfort, fit, and security. The second thing that I liked about them is the look. Of course, it's a lot cuter than the granny panty, and so you can get away with just wearing that alone and not feeling ugly on your period. They do look cute, and some of them, they come in lace, you know, lace trim. Others, they come as boxers or boy shorts or whatever, boy cut underwear. So they do look good, that's for sure, and I'm going to put that in the plus column. Also in the plus column is that they're very convenient and easy to use. It's just like a regular underwear. You just slip them on, no muss, no fuss, and that's all there is to it, to your menstrual care routine for the day. That brings me though to the downside, and that's the fact that you put them on and there's no backup for these. So if they do not absorb well, if they don't actually offer leak-free protection, if they're not made well, then you will have leakage, and that is that. Usually if you have a pad, you have some backup. Your granny panties or one of these period underwears might catch that blood, but with these, if there's an accident, there's an accident and there's no avoiding it. So if you are going to use a period panty, then get one that you know it, or that you've used maybe at home already, or that you know the material is very absorbent. I'm going to call that absorbency. We'll say the downside to these products is the absorbency problem. Can I classify it as that? I think I'm going to classify it as that. It is kind of an absorbency problem, but it is also a maintenance problem. But maintenance is a separate thing, and I'm going to get to that in a second. The fact that it can hold up to maybe at most 2 tampons worth of blood, you are going to have to change it out. And so you're going to have a few of these. And that also is another inconvenience, which I'm also going to get to next, is the cost of having to change them. You might as well grab a cloth pad if you're going to have to do this. But let's first go to maintenance. So you're going to have to change them. So that is an inconvenience when having to wash these. Even if you have an insertable, if you have to take out the absorbable material in the middle, you're going to have to wash that. But then the outside material is also going to be bloody. So what do you do about that? You have this cloth pad that you now have to wash, plus you're going to have to wash the period panty itself. Even if you do have an insertable, and I might have to check and see how those work exactly, you will bleed on the outside of the pad. I would assume so, that you bleed on the outside and then you remove the insertable piece and replace it, but there's still blood on the outside, and nobody wants to have to sit on old blood. It is a little cringe to have to go and do that, to have to take out an insertable, but then you're gonna go back and put a bloody underwear on. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how it works, like I said, so that's something I would have to look into, and I'll get back to you on that one. So I'm just going to call that an inconvenience, the maintenance of it, that you do have to wash it. This is a lot more high maintenance than cloth pads, and like I said, I would prefer to just have to change out the cloth pads. Also with the maintenance, when you have one that is black, it may seem convenient that even if you have leakage, you might not see it. I found that convenient, and that's why I picked the black. But the thing about cloth pads is that when you bleed on them, you know you bled on them, and so you know how much you have to wash them before the stain comes out. But if it's colored, you might not even see the stain enough to wash them, and so that might be a problem, that you're not getting all the blood. And we know what happens to blood when it oxidizes and when it sets in. Eventually these are going to start to smell, and so that may be a problem. The maintenance of these would definitely be a problem. Also, if they only hold up to a certain amount of blood and you do have to change them, now you're going to have to go into the washroom, not just with your little tampon stuffed in your pocket, not just with your wet bag, but with this big granny panty that you're going to have to change out. So I don't really see how you can use these in a work setting or in a public setting or something like that. They're more for being at home, I would say. I would definitely have these on, and I did have them on during my period at home, but I just wouldn't leave the house with them knowing that that's the only product I have to use for the day. Finally is the cost, and that goes along with the maintenance. These cost a lot of money. I haven't seen any for less than $20. So for each period panty that you're going to buy, you are going to spend $20. And if it can hold up to 1 or 2 tampons worth of blood, then you're going to have to change them at least 3 to 4 times throughout the day. So I don't see how spending $100 to have these is going to make your life any easier, especially if you have to wash them out. So the absorbency might be an issue, the maintenance of these things may be an issue, and the cost. For me, overall, I don't think that it is worth it as a standalone period product. It's not something that I would feel comfortable putting in my drawer and saying, you know, I'm going to switch completely from disposables and go to period panties only, or switch from cloth to period panties only. These are the types of period products that you're definitely going to have to use with other products. So would I recommend period panties? Yes, I would recommend having at least one in your period product collection, but I would not recommend it as a standalone product. Like I said, it's something that you could definitely use as a backup or along with other menstrual care products or with other period products. That is it for this one. I hope that helps, or at least gave you something to think about. Remember, I'm here every moon day at noon. That's Eastern time. Until the next one, take care of yourself.